My name is Chloe, and a year ago, I married Jack, the man of my dreams. Our marriage was everything I'd hoped for, filled with love, support, and endless laughter. I couldn't have asked for a better partner or a happier family life. I worked as an accountant from home, a job I genuinely enjoyed, though my professional life held a few hidden complexities. Jack, on the other hand, owned a car parts business, which kept him busy but allowed us to spend plenty of time together. We cherished our moments as a couple and often attended social events hosted by Jack's wide circle of friends, colleagues, and business contacts. These gatherings were something I always looked forward to, a chance to meet new people and connect with Jack's world. One sunny Saturday morning, as I sipped my coffee and scrolled through emails at the kitchen table, Jack entered the room with a wide grin on his face. "Hey, beautiful," he said, kissing my cheek. "Mike's having a barbecue at his place later. I thought we could go, have some fun, and catch up with everyone. What do you think?" "That sounds perfect," I replied, already excited about the evening. We arrived at Mike's house around 7. The air was filled with the aroma of grilled meat and the cheerful buzz of conversation and laughter. As we wove through the crowd, I noticed a striking blonde woman who stood out. She was animatedly chatting with a group of people, her laughter carrying across the yard. "Who's that?" I asked Jack, nodding toward her. His expression changed subtly, his smile tightening ever so slightly. "That's Vanessa," he said. "My ex-girlfriend." Before I could say anything, Mike spotted us and waved us over enthusiastically. "Jack, Chloe, so glad you made it. Come meet everyone." As we joined the group, Vanessa's gaze landed on us. Her smile widened, but something in her eyes gave me pause. It wasn't genuine. Well, she said, her tone laced with a saccharine sweetness. "If it isn't Jack and his wife." The way she said wife felt pointed, almost like an insult. Determined to stay composed, I forced a polite smile and extended my hand. "Nice to meet you, Vanessa. I'm Chloe." She glanced at my outstretched hand as though it were something distasteful, then turned her attention back to Jack. "Jackie, darling," she cooed, her voice dripping with familiarity. "It's been far too long. You simply must catch me up on your life." The use of the pet name made my stomach twist, but Jack remained calm and collected. "It's good to see you, Vanessa," he replied smoothly. "Chloe and I have been doing great. How about you? Still working at your dad's company?" Vanessa's smile faltered slightly, but she quickly recovered. The tension between us lingered, but I told myself to focus on enjoying the evening, even if Vanessa had other plans. Vanessa's smirk lingered in my mind long after the party, her snide remarks replaying like a broken record. I had always prided myself on being calm and collected, but Vanessa had a way of worming under my skin like no one else. The weeks following her first reappearance were a slow descent into frustration. Vanessa seemed to have made it her mission to insert herself into every corner of our social life. She appeared at barbecues, dinner parties, and even casual outings with Jack's business associates. Each time, she managed to find a way to undermine me. Sometimes subtle, sometimes blatant, but always intentional. One particular evening, we attended a formal dinner party hosted by one of Jack's top clients. The women had gathered in a corner of the room, chatting about recent travels and fashion trends. I was midway through a light-hearted story about a vacation mishap when Vanessa appeared, champagne in hand. "Chloe," she interrupted with an overly sweet tone, her eyes gleaming with mischief. "That skirt, you're really leaning into the retro look, aren't you? So charmingly old-fashioned." I glanced down at my outfit, a modest skirt and blouse I'd carefully chosen for the evening, and felt a pang of self-consciousness. "I think it's appropriate for tonight," I replied, doing my best to keep my tone neutral. Vanessa's laugh tinkled like fragile glass. "Oh, of course, darling. Not everyone has the confidence for haute couture." Her own outfit, a dress so tight it could double as shrink wrap, seemed better suited to a nightclub than the elegant dinner party we were attending. I bit my tongue, refusing to sink to her level, and excused myself to find Jack. Vanessa's taunts grew bolder with each encounter, but what truly tipped the scales was her social media campaign. She began posting photos from events we attended, always carefully cropping me out or choosing angles that obscured my face. Her captions often hinted at comparisons, thinly veiled as compliments to herself. Then came the post that shattered my composure. Vanessa had uploaded a side-by-side image, one of her, perfectly posed, and a candid, unflattering photo of me. The caption read, "Who's the better match for Jack? Vote below." The comments were brutal. Most sided with Vanessa, praising her beauty and mocking my appearance. One comment even read, "Jack must have lost a bet to end up with her." I stared at my phone, my cheeks burning with humiliation and anger. That night, when Jack came home, I confronted him the moment he walked through the door. "Jack, we need to talk about Vanessa," I said, my voice shaking as I handed him my phone. His expression darkened as he read the post, his jaw tightening with every comment he scrolled through. "This is completely unacceptable," he muttered, setting the phone down. "I'll talk to her. This needs to stop." "That's not enough," I said, my voice rising. "She's been making my life miserable, Jack. I want her out of our lives. No more parties, no more events. Just cut her off." Jack sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. "Chloe, it's not that simple. Her father is one of my biggest clients. If I alienate her, it could jeopardize my business." "And what about us, Jack? What about me?" I demanded, my frustration boiling over. "Doesn't our relationship matter more than your business connections?" "Of course it does," he said, pulling me into a hug. "You know I love you, Chloe. Vanessa is in the past. I married you, didn't I?" His words were meant to reassure me, but they rang hollow. How could I feel secure when the person who had once held his heart was still finding ways to sabotage our life together? That night, as I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, my mind raced. Jack's reluctance to take a firm stand against Vanessa gnawed at me. I couldn't help but wonder if this was the first crack in the foundation of our seemingly perfect marriage, or if deeper fissures had already begun to form. Vanessa's smirk was a clear warning. She had something planned. The casual backyard atmosphere of Tom's birthday party felt heavier as she sashayed her way through the crowd. Her overly dramatic entrance drew attention, and she basked in it as if she were the guest of honor rather than a late arrival. I tried to focus on mingling with friends, laughing at their stories, and enjoying the food. But out of the corner of my eye, I noticed Vanessa making her way toward us. When she reached Jack, she placed a hand on his shoulder, her voice louder than necessary. "Jack," she purred, "remember that time we went to the Amalfi Coast? Those private boat rides were so romantic." She glanced at me with feigned innocence. "Oh, Chloe, has Jack ever taken you to Italy? You simply must go." I felt my fists clench at my sides. The way she casually tried to assert dominance over me through shared memories was infuriating. Jack, however, didn't miss a beat. "Actually, Chloe and I are planning a trip to Italy next summer," he said, slipping an arm around my waist. "We've got some incredible places on our list, don't we, love?" "That's right," I added, my smile forced but steady. "I'm particularly excited about Florence and the vineyards in Tuscany. Jack insists I'll fall in love with them." Vanessa's smile faltered for a split second before she recovered. "Of course, Tuscany's nice, but the Amalfi Coast is truly unforgettable. It's hard to match those sunsets when you're with the right person." Her voice dripped with suggestion. The conversation shifted awkwardly as a few friends nearby exchanged glances, clearly uncomfortable with her blatant provocations. I excused myself to grab a drink, needing a moment to cool off. As I made my way to the drink table, I overheard Vanessa's voice again, now addressing a small group of people. "Jack's such a catch, isn't he? We had the most incredible connection back then. Some things never really fade, you know?" Her words were calculated, designed to plant doubt and create tension. My chest tightened, but instead of confronting her outright, I decided to change tactics. I returned to Jack's side, slipping my hand into his. "Can we talk for a minute?" I asked softly. "Of course," he said, concern flickering in his eyes. We stepped aside, away from the crowd. I took a deep breath, steadying myself. Jack, I appreciate you shutting her down earlier, but this can't keep happening. She's doing this on purpose, and it's affecting me. It's affecting us. Jack nodded, his expression serious. I know, Chloe. I see what she's doing, and it's unacceptable. I'll handle it. I need more than handling, I said, my voice firm. I need her out of our lives. I know her father is a client, but this isn't just about business anymore. She's crossing every boundary. Jack sighed heavily, running a hand through his hair. You're right. I've been trying to balance everything, but it's clear that Vanessa's not going to stop unless I make a clean break. I'll talk to her father, figure out a way to manage the fallout. You promise? I asked, needing to hear his commitment. I promise, he said, holding my gaze. You and I are a team, Chloe. She's not going to come between us. Vanessa's laugh rang out from the other side of the yard, a sharp reminder of her presence. But for the first time, I felt a glimmer of hope. Jack's words were reassuring, and I could see the determination in his eyes. As the party continued, Vanessa's antics grew more desperate, but I stayed close to Jack, and he made a point of keeping his attention on me. By the end of the evening, her smug confidence had cracked, and I could see the frustration brewing beneath her flawless facade. This wasn't over, but I had drawn a line. Now it was up to Jack to prove that he meant what he said, that we were truly a team, stronger than the games Vanessa was playing. Oh, how unfortunate, Vanessa replied, her voice practically dripping with glee. Well, no matter. You should still come. It's good to have some fun, especially while Jack is away. The emphasis she placed on away sent a chill down my spine. I forced a polite response, trying not to let her unsettling tone rattle me. I'll think about it. Vanessa, thanks for the invitation. Oh, Chloe, she said, laughing lightly. Don't be shy. You wouldn't want to miss out on the company. Besides, it'll be good for you to branch out. See you at 8. Before I could protest, she hung up. I stared at my phone, unease creeping through me. Vanessa had never reached out to me directly like this before. Her sudden interest felt calculated. After a long internal debate, I decided not to go. Something about Vanessa's invitation felt like a trap, and I wasn't in the mood to play her games. Instead, I settled in for a quiet evening at home. Around 9 p.m., my phone buzzed again. This time, a message from a mutual acquaintance. Is Jack back early? Saw him with Vanessa at her get-together. Thought you were out of town. My heart stopped. I stared at the text, rereading it over and over, trying to make sense of the words. Jack was supposed to be on a business trip. How could he be at Vanessa's party? My mind raced as I typed a quick response. Are you sure? Jack's out of town for work. The reply came quickly. Pretty sure. Saw him from across the room. Thought you two were here together. I put the phone down, my hand shaking. I tried to reason with myself. Maybe it was a mistake. Maybe the person had seen someone who looked like Jack. But deep down, doubt had already taken root. I decided to call Jack. The phone rang once, twice, and then went to voicemail. I tried again, only to get the same result. My stomach churned. I needed answers. Opening social media, I searched for any evidence of Vanessa's party. Within moments, I found her latest post, a series of photos from the get-together. She was smiling in every picture, her hand always lingering on someone's arm, her glass of wine always full. In one of the photos, my worst fear was confirmed. There was Jack, standing next to Vanessa, a forced smile on his face as she clung to him like he was her prize. My chest tightened. The caption beneath the photo read, "Reunited with an old friend. Some connections never fade. Hashtag good times, hashtag no place like home." I stared at the screen, the betrayal hitting me like a tidal wave. Was this just another one of Vanessa's games? Or had Jack been lying to me all along? The house felt colder, emptier. I put my phone down, my mind spinning with questions I didn't know if I wanted answered. By the time Jack returned from his business trip, I had decided I wasn't going to stay silent. Whatever was happening between him and Vanessa needed to come to light. And if there was one thing I'd learned from Vanessa's relentless games, it was that I needed to stop playing nice. This time, I was going to fight back. Accounting is my day job, I said calmly, enjoying the stunned expressions around the table. But I've also invested in a few properties and businesses over the years. El Chateau happens to be one of them. Vanessa's face was a mix of disbelief and fury. You're joking, she hissed. The manager, standing nearby, stepped in with a gracious smile. Madame Chloe is indeed one of our primary investors. We're honored to have her as part of our family here at El Chateau. I turned to Vanessa, my smile sweet, but my words sharp. So, Vanessa, about that hatchet you wanted to bury, would you prefer to discuss it over dinner? Or should I arrange a private room for you to cool off? The group fell silent, all eyes on Vanessa. She shifted uncomfortably in her chair, her bravado crumbling. I didn't realize, she stammered, clearly floundering. Of course you didn't, I said smoothly. You've been so busy trying to humiliate me, you forgot to look beyond your own reflection. Jack's friends chuckled nervously, their loyalty to Vanessa waning with every passing second. Tom, clearly enjoying the moment, raised his glass. Here's to Chloe, he said, grinning, the real powerhouse of the group. The others joined in, lifting their glasses in a toast. Vanessa, however, sat frozen, her knuckles white as she gripped her wine glass. As the night went on, I made it a point to engage warmly with everyone at the table, subtly showcasing the depth of my relationships and investments. By the end of the evening, it was clear that Vanessa's attempt to isolate me had backfired spectacularly. When the dinner finally ended, Vanessa stood abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. Well, she said, forcing a tight smile. This was enlightening. Excuse me, I have somewhere to be. She turned on her heel and stalked out of the restaurant, her defeated exit met with stifled laughter from the group. Jack's friends, now thoroughly impressed by my composure and wit, stayed to chat for a while longer. By the time we parted ways, I felt more confident than ever. As I left El Chateau, the manager stopped me by the door. Thank you for coming tonight, Madame Chloe. I hope everything was to your satisfaction. It was perfect, I said with a genuine smile. And thank you for handling that situation so gracefully. Anytime, he replied with a bow. Walking to my car, I couldn't help but feel a sense of victory. Vanessa's reign of petty insults was over, and I'd reclaimed my dignity without lowering myself to her level. When I got home, my phone buzzed with a text from Jack. Vanessa just called me. She didn't sound happy. Care to explain? I replied simply, let's talk when you get home. You're going to love this story. For the first time in months, I felt like I was no longer playing defense in Vanessa's game. Instead, I was writing my own rules, and she'd just learned that the hard way. Vanessa's glare deepened, and her voice lowered to a venomous whisper. This event is for accomplished entrepreneurs, not accountants playing dress-up. I smiled, taking a slow sip of champagne. Funny you should say that. I'm here because of my restaurant. It turns out hard work and character are more important than petty insults and borrowed luxury. Vanessa bristled, but before she could respond, a voice interrupted. Chloe, there you are. The event organizer, an impeccably dressed woman, approached with a wide smile. We've been waiting to introduce you. Everyone is so excited to hear your story. Vanessa's eyes widened, her composure faltering. Her story, she repeated, her voice tinged with disbelief. Of course, the organizer replied, glancing at Vanessa with polite confusion. Chloe is one of our featured nominees tonight. Her restaurant's success has been nothing short of inspiring. Thank you, I said, meeting Vanessa's stunned gaze. It's been a lot of hard work, but it's rewarding to see it recognized. The organizer linked her arm with mine, guiding me toward the stage. Come, we're about to start. As I walked away, I couldn't resist a parting shot. Enjoy the evening, Vanessa. Try not to spill anything on yourself this time. The ceremony was a whirlwind. When my name was announced as the winner of the Successful Entrepreneurial Debut Award, I felt a surge of pride and gratitude. Jack clapped enthusiastically from the front row, his smile brighter than the stage lights. After my acceptance speech, the evening became a blur of congratulations and handshakes. But one moment stood out. As Jack and I were leaving the venue, Vanessa intercepted us near the exit. "I suppose you think you've won," she said, her tone dripping with bitterness.
"Won,"
I repeated, tilting my head. "This wasn't a competition, Vanessa. It was about celebrating achievement. You should try focusing on that instead of tearing others down." Her face reddened, and she opened her mouth to respond, but Jack cut her off. "We're done here, Vanessa," he said firmly. "Chloe is everything you're not. Kind, hardworking, and someone people genuinely respect. You could learn a thing or two from her." He took my hand and led me out into the crisp night air. As we walked to the car, I squeezed Jack's hand. "Thank you for standing up for me." "You don't need me to stand up for you," he said, smiling. "But I'll always be here to remind you how amazing you are." In that moment, I realized something important. Vanessa's efforts to belittle me had only strengthened my resolve and solidified my bond with Jack. I had built something real, both in my career and in my marriage, and no amount of pettiness could take that away. As we drove home, I looked out at the city lights, feeling a renewed sense of purpose. Vanessa might have tried to bring me down, but she'd only managed to make me shine brighter. The ballroom grew quieter as the crowd retreated, leaving Vanessa standing alone in her humiliation. Her sobs echoed faintly, but no one moved to comfort her. I watched her for a moment, torn between pity and satisfaction. She had orchestrated this moment, yet now seemed utterly unprepared for the consequences. Jack turned to me, his expression softening as he reached for my hand. "Are you okay?" he asked, his voice low and full of concern. I nodded,
squeezing his hand. "I'm fine."
"Thank you for standing by me." He smiled faintly. "Always." Just then Mr. Thompson returned, his demeanor a mix of professional and apologetic. "Chloe, Jack, I can't apologize enough for Vanessa's behavior tonight. I assure you, she won't disrupt your life any further." "Thank you, Mr. Thompson," I said, my tone measured. "It's unfortunate that things had to escalate this way, but I appreciate your support." He nodded solemnly, then turned to Jack. "You made the right choice, son. Chloe is a remarkable woman." Jack placed an arm around my waist, pulling me closer. "I've always known that." As Mr. Thompson excused himself to rejoin my father, Jack and I took a moment to breathe. The tension of the evening began to ebb, replaced by a sense of relief. "Ready to head home?" Jack asked. I glanced at Vanessa, still standing frozen in the center of the room. Her once perfect appearance was now a mess, her confidence shattered. Despite everything, I felt a twinge of empathy. "I'm ready," I said, leaning into Jack. "Let's leave the past where it belongs." As we made our way to the exit, murmurs followed us, whispers of respect and admiration for how I had handled the situation. It was clear that Vanessa's downfall had cemented a different narrative. I belonged here not because of wealth or status, but because of grace under pressure. Outside, the crisp night air was a welcome change from the heavy atmosphere of the ballroom. Jack stopped under the glow of a street lamp, turning to face me. "I'm proud of you, Chloe," he said, his voice steady. "You didn't let her win. You showed everyone exactly who you are." I smiled, feeling the weight of the night lift. "Thank you, Jack. I couldn't have done it without you." As we walked hand in hand to the car, I realized that the events of the evening had done more than expose Vanessa's true nature. They had strengthened my bond with Jack and solidified my place in his world. Sometimes, the best way to deal with someone trying to tear you down is to stand tall and let them crumble under the weight of their own actions. The rest of the evening passed in a whirlwind of celebration and happiness. When my name was announced for the Successful Entrepreneurial Debut Award, I could hardly believe it. Walking onto the stage, my heart pounded as the room erupted into applause. Amid the crowd, one sound stood out, Jack's unmistakable whistle. Looking out, I spotted him standing next to my father, both clapping wildly with proud smiles. Their joy radiated toward me, steadying my nerves and filling me with confidence. As I accepted the award, I felt an overwhelming sense of accomplishment. This wasn't just about the success of my restaurant. It was a triumph over doubts, criticism, and every hurdle I'd faced. In the following weeks, the award found a place of honor on our mantel, a glowing reminder of that incredible night. Without Vanessa's toxic antics, life fell into a peaceful rhythm. Jack and I continued attending social events, now genuinely enjoyable with her absence. The atmosphere was relaxed, the conversations flowed easily, and laughter filled the air at every gathering. One evening, as I was getting ready for another party, Jack stepped into the room. He wrapped his arms around my waist as I adjusted my earrings. "You know," he said, resting his chin on my shoulder, "these parties are so much better now. It's like a weight has been lifted." I smiled at him in the mirror. I was just thinking the same thing. Funny how removing one person can change everything. He kissed my cheek and leaned back slightly, his expression curious. "Have you heard anything about Vanessa?" I shook my head. "Not really. She's gone completely quiet, but I did overhear Tom talking at the last party. Apparently, Mr. Thompson sent her out of state. Something about keeping her from embarrassing the family or ruining business deals." Jack's eyebrows rose. "That's pretty extreme. But after her stunt at the awards night, it's not surprising." I turned to adjust his tie, chuckling softly. "It's sad, really. All that privilege and opportunity, and she used it to tear people down instead of building herself up." As we drove to the event, I reflected on everything that had happened over the past year. Vanessa's relentless scheming, my unexpected award, and the ways those challenges had strengthened my relationship with Jack. Life had its ups and downs, but we'd weathered them together, emerging stronger and closer than ever. And Vanessa? I sincerely hoped she'd take this chance to grow. Maybe a fresh start would teach her the lessons she'd resisted for so long. For now, I had no time for bitterness or regrets. As I stepped into another beautiful evening, Jack by my side, I felt nothing but gratitude for the challenges that tested me, the triumphs that elevated me, and the love that surrounded me. Together, we were building a life that felt truly ours, leaving the past exactly where it belonged, behind us.